If you love the NFL, NBA, and college football, then join the Chat Sports family. We got over 265,000 subscribers for multiple reasons. We do videos literally every single day. We do live videos as well. So if you love sports and if you love talking about sports, then we're the right channel for you. So hit that subscribe button. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and on today's video, I'm going to go through one trade candidate for all 32 NFL teams. Now, we don't have these ranked in any kind of order. We're just going to go from by division, and basically break down why we think each player could ultimately be dealt. Now, the NFL trade deadline is on November 2nd, so you're going to see a lot, and I mean a lot of NFL trade rumors this entire week. First off, we're going to go to the AFC East here. The first name coming up here for the Buffalo Bills, Addison, definitely a name to keep in mind. Wide receiver N'Keal Harry for the New England Patriots. He's already said he wants to be dealt. This one just seems like a matter of when. So, well, if this happens, believe me, we're going to be making a video about it. Xavien Howard, cornerback of the Miami Dolphins, and then Marcus Maye, safety of the New York Jets. Now, I do want to take a little bit more of a deeper dive on Howard and Maye because both of these players, I think, are, some of the better defensive players in the league, and unfortunately for them, they're on some not-so-good football teams. Now, I do want to look at the stats from last season simply because Maye's missed some time this year with some injuries, but tackles, Xavien Howard had 51 last year, Maye had 88. Tackles for loss, advantage Maye. Pass breakups, advantage Howard. Interceptions, Howard with 10, absolutely insane. Completion percentage again, Xavien Howard's the dude, but he has had some injuries. I also will give some credit to Marcus Maye and his ability to be a pretty versatile defensive player, but if you had to go out and trade for one of these players, and yes, I'm going to make you pick only one, would you trade for Marcus Maye type MM or Xavien Howard type XH? I'm going to go ahead and give XH the shot. Let's go to the AFC South, which is the worst division in football, but might be one of the most interesting in terms of trades. Deshaun Watson, quarterback of Houston. You could also throw in a name like Brandon Cooks here. If Deshaun Watson gets traded, that I can guarantee we're going to be making videos on tons of channels. What about Marlon Mack, running back of the Indianapolis Colts? The Colts have already come out and said, hey, Mack, we do want to honor your trade request, and he's going to end up getting dealt here pretty soon, I think. Let's go to Taven, Bryan, defensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then to round out it here in the AFC South, Josh Reynolds, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans. It might also depend on how healthy A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are, so we can see if Reynolds is ultimately taken away from. But let's look here at Deshaun Watson, his numbers in 2020. You can say what you want about him. He's got still the allegations up against him. Led the league last season, though, with 4,823 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, pretty nice QBR. So what do you guys think here? And you know what? We're going to make this the pinned comment because he's probably going to be the biggest name on this list, and he's going to be the player that gets the most news around him. Will Deshaun Watson get traded? I want you to go down while you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break. Argue in the comments why for yes and for no. Next division coming up here is the AFC North, and we're going to start it off with the Baltimore Ravens, Devonta Freeman. There's been already a lot of rumors around a running back potentially getting dealt from Baltimore, though I thought Freeman played okay yesterday. Latavius Murray was unable to go, and they've also had Tyson Williams as a healthy scratch. What about Auden Tate, wide receiver for the Bengals? Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, they just put up a crooked number, 41-17, up against Baltimore, and Jamar Chase looks like that dude. Bad news for Auden Tate. They have a lot of depth there in the wide receiver position, so he could be on his way out. Mack Wilson, he's been connected to a lot of trade rumors, I feel like, the past 2 seasons for the Cleveland Browns. And then to round out the AFC North, James Washington, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one gets a little bit interesting because when the season started, you're like, all right, he's the 4th best dude on this team. And another player that was like, you know what, I want to get the heck out of there. I'm not getting the opportunity that I think. Now, with the injury to Juju Smith-Schuster, makes it a little bit more interesting. But Brooke Pryor this is a quote from Brooke Pryor, on Washington trade. He's from ESPN. After losing wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster for the season, it's almost counterintuitive to offer up another wide receiver as a potential trade target, but Washington already expressed a frustration with his lack of involvement in the offense during the preseason. And after playing just 8 snaps in the first game without Juju on Sunday night, Washington's concerns seem valid. Without Smith-Schuster, Steelers tight ends got more involved in the passing game, and Washington got only 1 target. Now, this season, he's got 10 grabs, 108 yards, 0 touchdowns, and realistically, it's been probably 2 years since I would have said Washington make it a serious threat. He had some good moments, but it's probably time to get the heck out of Pittsburgh. Now, I want you guys to seriously hit that subscribe button. News, rumors around the NFL, and we're going to be live for the NFL trade deadline, so if anything happens, we're going to be breaking it all down for you. We might have a few drinks on the show as well, trying to have a good time. You're also going to be a major part of every single live show that we do, so seriously, take a second, look underneath the video, and hit the subscribe button. Let's go to the AFC West now. Melvin Gordon, running back of the Denver Broncos. I like Javonte Williams, and obviously Denver does too. They ended up trading up for him, number 35 overall in this past year's draft. Gordon's just been one of these veteran running backs who has definitely been connected. And with the amount of injuries at the RB position, you could see a potential team that's trying to compete right now go out and get him. What about Laurent Duvernay-Tardif? I can never pronounce his name correct, and I'm going to pat myself on the back here. He's been linked in multiple trades as well, and obviously at the offensive line. Let's go to Cleveland Ferrell, the number 4 overall pick in the 2019 draft. He's just a bad fit right now with Las Vegas, bad fit with Gus Bradley. It's time for him to get out of there. And then Kamon Hall, cornerback of the Los Angeles Chargers. It was actually really difficult to be able to find a trade candidate for them, but let's take a deeper dive now here again on Cleve. He's only got 3 tackles, no sacks, played in just about 20 snaps this past week. And when you're really talking about the impact that he's been able to make, I mean, think about this. When you draft somebody number 4 overall, especially a defensive end, you want some sacks, right? In 33 career games with the Raiders, he's had 27 games where he hasn't had a sack. At the end of the day, that's not good, right? I actually think he has 6 career sacks, and 2.5 of them came in 1 game. So what do you guys think here? Who's the best team in the AFC? Let me know. I mean, there's a lot of good competition here. If the playoffs were to start today, the Cincinnati Bengals would be the number 1 seed. The Raiders would be the number 2 seed. The number 3 seed would be the Tennessee Titans, I believe, off the top of my head. It's been kind of a quirky year. I could still see Buffalo being the top team. They're the number 4 seed right now if the playoffs were to start. The Ravens obviously got to be up there. What about the Browns? I mean, they go so many different ways. And are we 100% sure that the Chiefs aren't going to be able to put it together? The AFC is a very, very interesting position, very interesting conference. So seriously, let me know who's the best team. Now, if you want to bet on who's going to win the AFC, if you want to bet who's going to win the Super Bowl, if you want to bet on any game literally this entire week or in the future as well, there was one place to do it and one place only. It's at BetUS. And if you don't take advantage of the offer we got going on right now, I don't like calling people a loser, but you got to be a loser not to do this. So go to chatsports.com/bet. Use this promo code that you all see on screen, NFL Daily. It's going to go ahead and save 125% deposit bonus. And we wanted to be able to put like a nice little cherry on top, if you will, maybe little sprinkles on there too. Maybe I'm hungry. I don't know. Chatsports.com/bet. Use code NFL Daily. That's only if you want a free NFL jersey. Yeah, now I probably got your attention, right? So sign up a deposit at least $100. You will then get $125 for free to bet with. Make at least one bet, and then after you go ahead and do that, take a screenshot, email it to us, jersey@chatsports.com. It's time now to go to the NFC, and we're going to start here in the NFC East with the Dallas Cowboys. Michael Gallup, wide receiver for them. He's been linked in multiple trade targets literally for like 2-3 years. I personally think they should figure out a way to hang on to him, though said he has looked pretty good. Let's go to Jabril Peppers now, safety of the New York Giants. Giants got to figure out what the heck they need to do in the future, and maybe I've just never been a big fan of Jabril. What about Derek Barnett, defensive end of the Philadelphia Eagles? This is just going to be one of those teams that it sucks right now. They're 2-5, but I actually think they're a better than a 2-5 team. Maybe need to figure out some extra draft picks, though, to go get yourself a quarterback. Who knows? What about Deron Payne, defensive tackle of the Washington football team? He was a first-round pick just a few years ago out of Alabama. You can see some of the talent is there. Washington's defense has really struggled, though, this season, and they've already committed to some other players like Jonathan Allen. Now, the Cowboys, we're going to talk about the wide receiver depth chart here with Ceddy Wilson, who I've actually been very, very impressed by his impact. He might not always get the big-time catches or fill up the stat sheet, but you could tell that he's making an impact there for that Cowboys team, which could mean somebody like Michael Gallup, who right now is on IR, could be on the way out. So what do you guys think here? What would Gallup be worth in a trade? And anytime we ask, Cowboys fans certain thing, and anytime we ask fans in general, right? I mean, we have a lot of different channels here. Shout out to Tom and the Cowboys Report. I feel like if you ask this question on his show, the trade value goes way up. Heck, I asked one time on a Raiders show, how much would you get for Marcus Mariota? They said a first-round pick. That ain't happening. So let me know what you guys are thinking, the trade value for Michael Gallup. We're now going to go to the NFC South here. Hayden Hurst. Kyle Pitts might be a little bit of underperforming in terms of what people were hoping for from a fantasy standpoint, but Kyle Pitts is the future there at tight end, and Hayden Hurst is not. What about Yetur Gross-Matos? This is one of those young dudes. When he was first coming out of Penn State, I actually liked him a lot. Now, some people were like, well, that's a hell of a name, hell of a mouthful. You're not wrong, but for Carolina, you started out 3-0, you lost 4 games. Maybe it's still, you got to build for the future. Gross-Matos, good defensive end, and there's going to be teams out there that are going to try to compete that could always use some extra edge help. What about Zach Bond, linebacker of the New Orleans Saints? Definitely a player to keep in mind. And then to round this thing out, let's go with O.J. Howard, tight end of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've actually been very impressed with Howard, and Howard's always been one of those tight ends that I'm just like, man, he's probably one of the most underappreciated tight ends, one of the most underutilized tight ends in the league. But, I mean, we know that Brady loves Gronk, and at the end of the day, though, I mean, OJ, I would love to see him go somewhere. All right, let's now go to do the NFC North here. We got Allen Robinson. I don't know if it's a bad fit with Matt Nagy. I just want to see Robinson get a quarterback that can actually get him the ball. Trey Flowers next up here for the Detroit Lions. That was probably been one of the worst contracts since I've been here at Chat Sports over the last 4 years. He's just been a terrible, terrible fit with Detroit. Maybe I think a team like, I don't know, New England could go out and trade for him. What about Jordan Love? So before the show started, I was talking to producer Jeremy, and I was like, man, Jordan Love, do we really think that could happen? And he looked at me and goes, well, hey, if you want to keep Aaron Rodgers happy, if you want to try to keep him for another year or two, maybe you just get rid of Jordan Love. I don't know if that's the route they go since they ended up trading up for him, number 26 overall in 2 years ago. But, hey, maybe it would tell Rodgers, we want you around here. The last name coming up here in the NFC North for the Minnesota Vikings, DJ Wonnum, defensive end. And, again, there's going to be teams out there that need extra depth at the edge positions. So, for Rodgers, he's got 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year, 1,436 yards. And, realistically, minus the very first game up against who the heck was it? The Saints, where they lost 38-3. Green Bay, you can make the argument, has been one of the better teams in the league. Now, he's going to have a little bit of a tougher test on Thursday Night Football up against the undefeated Cardinals, but Rodgers looks like that dude again. So what do you guys think here? Will Rodgers retire a Packer? 1 for yes or 0 for no? I'm going to go ahead and type my 0 for no. I just don't think there's any shot in hell that this guy's going to want to retire as a cheesehead. All right, the final division here is probably the best division in the NFL right now. Devon Kennard, defensive end for the Arizona Cardinals. Next name coming up here for the Los Angeles Rams, Van Jefferson. Jefferson was always a player that I actually liked when he first came out of Florida, but there's just a lot of good talent over there. Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, Jimmy G. I understand it was rainy, and I understand it was kind of a difficult game on Sunday Night Football, but can we all just sit here and agree that Garoppolo's got to go? He's just definitely not going to be there, and maybe Kyle Shanahan and Lynch are going to be joining them. I don't know. Let's go to the last name here on today's show, L.J. Collier, defensive end of the Seattle Seahawks. Another team that's really kind of depressing because with Russell Wilson, I still think that would have been a team that could at least compete for a playoff spot. No Russ, which means the Seahawks don't have a chance, which means maybe you should start shipping off some players. So we asked you, who's the best team in the AFC? What about the NFC? I mean, it could probably come down to the top 2 teams right now in the NFC West between the Rams, the Cardinals. I am going to give a shout-out to the defending champs, the Buccaneers. Jeremy's whispering in my ear, the Cowboys. I mean, you got some pretty top-heavy teams here in the NFC, so please let me know who's the best down there in the comments.